Rapid, ever-present change, emerging economies, and intense competition. These are the brushstrokes that paint the picture of today's business landscape. Career development will be critical to create an agile workforce, and you play a key role. Throughout your lifetime, you'll spend a significant amount of time working. But we know it's not just about the paycheck. Often it's so much more. It's also about using your skills, fueling your passion, and getting the right blend between work and home. Of course, no one can take charge of your career but you.
Can we get the house lights up a little more? I want to see the audience. So thank you for the applause. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, it is you who own your own career. But it's not you alone. It's you and your leaders. It's you and the peer group around you. It's you and your friends. It's you and everybody who supports you as you think about your next career adventure. You know, the hardest thing, though, about planning your career is knowing where to start. And I have a favorite Lucy Charlie Brown story that says it better than I ever could. And it's where Lucy says to Charlie Brown, "Charlie, life is like a cruise ship." And Charlie says, "Huh?" And Lucy says, "Some people take their deck chairs to the front of the boat to see where they're going. Other people take their deck chairs to the back of the boat to see where they've been. Charlie, in the cruise ship of life, where do you move your deck chair?" And Charlie says, "I don't know. I'm always too busy getting mine unfolded." So I am going to help you unfold the deck chair of your career. And I'm going to help you do it in as simple a way as I can. Because Einstein said, if you can't do it simply, you have not done your homework. And I'll tell you, what I'm going to say, the 3 steps, are something you already know. But my challenge to all of you as self-powered careerists is, you might know it. Are you doing it? And that's the big shift. So I'm going to talk about 3 ideas. With each idea, I'm going to tell you what I think self-powered careerists know how to do. And then I'm going to give you a provocative career question to think about for yourselves. And occasionally I'm going to have you answer it to the person next to you. And then I'm going to tell you what development-minded leaders do to support the careers of their people. And notice I use support. I did not say build the careers of their people. I did not say make the careers of people happen. I said support. So are you ready for the first step? Yes, Bev, yes. Okay. The first step is know yourself. And of course, know yourself. And of course, know yourself means know yourself in what you did yesterday, know yourself in what you did 2 weeks ago, know yourself in the things in your world that you love doing, and the things in your world that you do not love doing. Knowing yourself means knowing the last time you were out of your comfort zone and how you handled it. Knowing yourself means knowing your preferred working conditions. Knowing yourself means knowing the roadblocks you have faced and how you've gotten around them in the past. And I'll share with you my roadblock. So many of you are familiar with my work over time, and many of you come up to me and said, "I heard you speak at different places." And the very fact that I'm on this stage, I'll tell you a roadblock that I've had all my life and still have. And that is that I am a stutterer. Now, for some reason, God, thank you, I don't stutter when I'm presenting. But off stage, on the phone, everywhere to this day, I have not been able to let go of the stutter. And I'll tell you, for a stutterer, You know what the hardest letter is in a word? It's B's and D's. It's plosives. And what does my name start with? You know, and so if you can imagine growing up, you go to a dance, and what does the boy say who asks you to dance? What's your name? And I would say, Beverly. They'd say, Everly, I'd say with a B. Oh, it was horrible. And I'll tell you how I learned how to deal with it. I had a chance to take a course at MIT. And it was a special course early in my career. It was at the Sloan School. And I remember driving there and knowing the first thing they do as they introduce themselves, well, I have to say my name. And I got so uptight about saying my name that I drove home. And my roommate at the time said, what are you doing here? I said, I couldn't face it. She said the magic word. She said, so what if you stuttered? And I said, oh, I'd get all nervous. And then what? Well, I might get teary. And then what? Well, I might, really get totally red and embarrassed and feel terrible. And then what? Well, and then my turn would be over and someone else would introduce themselves. And I thought, and then what? I didn't fall over. I didn't drop off my chair. And it dawned on me that if I use and you use the and then what, when you face a roadblock, and the end of the and then what isn't so bad, you'll get through roadblocks too. So, know yourself. So here's the question I want to ask you, and I want you to turn to a partner and answer it really quickly. And I'm going to look at your eyeballs as I ask the question. The question is, when was the last time you said, I love my work? You said it, you thought it, you felt it. When? Ready, go. Okay, let me have you back again. If you didn't have time, follow this partner out to lunch and finish that conversation. Now, the reason I asked you, when was the last time you said, I love my work, is that I'm after what I call job fit. Job fit means you have the skills that still are exciting for you to use, you're interested in what you're doing, and you value what it is you do. I used to think of it as an equilateral triangle. Now, if you pushed me, I'd probably say interests trump skills and values. Because I can skill you up in something. You can get your values met outside of work. But I can't up your interest unless you really have it. So often I'm surprised at organizations who match the perfectly skilled person with the perfect job and then wonder, why is it not working? It may not work because I'm bored using those skills, even though I get applause for them, because I effort too much every time I do it, because I've lost interest. From skills, we get to show our competence. From interests, we get to feel our joy. And from values, we get to be committed. So all three are essential. And leaders know that it is really important to explore with people what they're all about. Just imagine if we said to every manager, the only question you have to ask it every month is, what was the best part of last week for you? If we stopped and asked it, it would take 2 minutes to have the conversation, And if I then had to ruminate, what did I like? What did I like? You would get to know me, all of me, and I would get to know myself. So there's another part of knowing yourself, and that is finding out how others see you. Does my self-perception match how others see me? Because I'll tell you, in the world of career, you play to a much wider audience than just your boss. You play to your peers, you play to people you interface with, you play to your customers, you play to a big audience. So the question I want you to think about, just think about, is who are the truth tellers who you could go to, who if you said, I want some really good feedback. You know, I love how people say feedback is a gift. I say next time send socks. But who will really give me some ideas on how to grow? And who could I ask, and how will I receive that feedback when it comes? And I'll tell you, self-powered careerists know that it used to be what I know that counted. Then they got smart and they know it's what I know and who I know that counts. Then it got even smarter and said, it's what I know, it's who I know, and it's who they know that counts. Now, it's what I know, who I know, and how I am known that counts. So around feedback and around perspective, it's your rep, it's your brand. And I believe reputation is going to be worth dollars. Because it's based on your rep, you will get people to join you. It's based on your rep that they will invite you on their team. Do you know what your reputation is? 3 great questions to ask of everybody around you. What could I do more of? What should I be doing less of? And what should I continue doing to deliver better service? You ask those 3 questions of everybody around you, you act on the data you get, and you will be on the way to becoming a self-powered careerist. Again, leaders have to level. They have to listen around know yourself. They have to level around perspective and tell the truth and send people to others in their career audience to collect that data. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you've got to know the landscape. In step 1, you move the deck chair to the back of the boat to see where you've been. In step 2, you move the deck chair to the front of the boat to see where am I going? What's changing? And in the old days, believe me, I was there in the old days. I've been doing this a long time. In the old days, we'd say, how is your job changing? And how is your org changing? Now we have to think, how is the job changing? How is my function changing? How is my department changing? How is my org changing? How is my profession changing? How is my industry changing? And how is the whole global economy changing all of it? So it's watching all those kind of spinning plates all at the same time. Because you let any one drop and you could be left without the next step for yourself. So, Bob Johansen, a Palo Alto futurist, said a great thing. He said, we have to listen for the future. And you can't listen for the future if you're deafened by the present. And I think too many of us, the clients we work with, are deafened by the present. So we have to lift ourselves up, take a look at what the future is, and I have the ultimate test for you right now, for those of you who think you might be self-powered careerists. I'm going to put something on the screen, I'm going to say yell. And I want you to just yell out what you see on the screen. Are you ready? Yell. So how many of you saw, you can say I'm from New Jersey, originally I say saw. How many of you saw opportunity is nowhere? Raise your hands. Aha. How many of you immediately saw opportunity is now here? Raise your hands. Right there is the difference between someone who is opportunity-minded and opportunity-blinded. And when you're opportunity-blinded, although the writing might be on the wall, you are so close to it, you only see one letter. You have to step back and get the picture of that landscape. And you've got to think not only what's changing, but what does that mean for me? How do I need to invest differently in my skill set or divest of something in my skill set? So how many of you, one more thing, saw opportunity? I snow here. Okay, if you will stay after, we'll talk. So that's step 2. And the job of the development-minded leader is to help people focus. Focus on the future. Focus not to be afraid of it, but focus to see what the implications are so that you take care of yourselves in your career. And leaders, the more you have discussions about this, about opportunity, and I'll tell you why you should care. Because career development, career opportunity is the biggest engagement and retention driver. If I don't see opportunities in my organization, if I don't see a future for me, I'm not staying. So it is critical to have these very conversations. So step 3 is the action step. It's know how to take action. And I know that self-powered careerists do 3 things. They seek, meaning they scan the environment for what's changing. They see, meaning they see how that change applies to them. And then they seize, they take action. So I think this action piece is really around 2 words, choices and learning. And the big letter in the word choices that I want you to hang on to is the S at the end of the word. Multiple choices, multiple options, multiple possibilities. And a number of years ago, I was at UCLA working on my doctorate. And at UCLA, you have to defend your doctoral thesis before a committee. And I was studying career development in corporations. And I walked in all ready to do it, and I failed my orals. Because my committee said I was supposed to do phenomenological research, which is invent a theory. My committee said, you don't have a theory, start again. 3 times I failed my orals. 3 times I started again. What I did the 3rd time was smart. I hired someone to listen to me talk about what I was learning. And with someone sitting there nodding and saying, ooh, say more, all of a sudden the theory popped. And I've been talking about it ever since. Now let me just say an aside, Marshall Goldsmith, who's somewhere in the audience, who's speaking later, Marshall had the same person on his committee. He fired that person. I never thought of it. So up is not the only way, meaning you've got to have career leverage. So here's a way to remember, if you're a leader and you're sitting down with an employee and you've got to talk about ways to move, and you know that there are not enough ups to go around, or you're a self-powered careerist and you're thinking, well, what else can I do? Think of career leverage. Think of the word lever. You can move laterally. You can enrich, you can move vertically, you can explore, or you can realign, meaning move down, move across to get into something else. Those are 5 different moves you can make. And the more you think of a place to move for all of them, the less you'll be stuck. So the essence of this is do not put all your eggs in one basket. I remember seeing a T-shirt, the front of it said, there's no use waiting for your ship to come in. And the back said, unless you've sent one out. And I would say we've got to send out numerous ships around career. We have to have numerous choices. And one thing about choices is that it leads us to learning. So here's the think question that I want you to think about. It's 2-part, and I wish there was time to have you talk about it. One is, the most important move, I think, is the E, the enrichment move. How do you grow in place? How do we legitimize that growing in place is as good as moving out into something else? And so the question would be, if I had a magic wand, I could tap your desk, 20% of the work you dislike went away, leaving you 20% time to do what you truly love, what would it be? And then, what is that thing that you truly love, you want to expand, and how will you go about learning it? So for development-minded leaders, you have a chance to find out what your people love, and then to think about, not do it for them, what experience might they get to learn that? Who might they get exposed to learn that? Or what kind of education might they get to learn that? It's kind of that simple. So it's all about choices, and it's about learning. And I think the job of the development-focused leader is to help people take action, not to act for them, but to support them in the action and the connections that they need. So I have one extra credit question for you, and then I'm going to wrap up. The extra credit question for you to sleep on tonight is, if you met yourself 5 years from now, would you smile? And why? So while you're schmoozing this afternoon, while you're on your break, think about, would I smile and why? So, you know, in effective presentations, there's a tell rule when you begin to wrap up. Tell rule is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So I've been suffering with how to tell you what I told you. And at this stage in my life, I am into writing Dr. Seuss poetry to capture in less than a minute everything I just said. So if anybody was, texting while I was talking and you weren't paying attention, here's everything I just said in a minute. And it goes like this. It's titled, It's True, It Mostly Is You. And it goes, careers are like puzzles. The pieces eventually fit, though in the midst of the process you can get in a snit. You do need a method, so I'll help to review some steps that are critical and all up to you. You must first know yourself, identify interests and skills, but much more important, what gives you your thrills. Rest assured you're not done. It's not just self-assessment, you see. It's about your career audience, and do they agree? It's gazing into the future, not just where you have been. Keep ahead of those changes so you're not at their whim. This implies multiple choices. Yes, that means 3 or 4. So when opportunity knocks, you can open the door. It means intentionally learning, absolutely all of the time. So when new challenges are presented, you're not left behind. Your organization offers guidance, and so should your boss. But if you think it's all their job, you're sure to be lost. You now have the framework, the steps should be clear. This is your responsibility. Now get off your rear.